Hi there, and get things in order here. I hopefully you can hear me. I've got to remove this banner again. It's canceling COVID. I'm Tanya Ivans. Not it. There we go. I'm producing as well, and sometimes it just doesn't go exactly the way it's supposed to. Haven't had that happen before, but a happy Tuesday to you. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for Canceling COVID. We meet here every week to just talk about what's happening in our community. Of course, we thought we had turned the corner on everything, and then Omicron dropped in. Well, we've got another strain that's kind of headed this way. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But today I've got this fabulous she's a little bit of everything, whether you would say entrepreneur, author, coach, just some great information that we need because we've talked about the great resignation and the impact in our community. Before we get to that, though, I want to make sure we also say thank you to our sponsor. One of our sponsors, of course, is Groundwater Solutions. You'll hear from Dr. Trasha Black in just a moment. Again, that's groundwater-solutions.org, 704-596-0505. 704-596-0505. Now, we can't do this or wouldn't be able to do this without our sponsors and the great information that they provide and the support for bringing you this information every week. We just want to keep you informed and keep you educated, real talk, information that you may not hear anywhere else. So I led in talking about the great resignation and the special guest that we have joining us today. I'm going to bring her on and let her tell you more about who she is and how important she is to this conversation because as people have made the choice concerning the labor market and the impact, economic and social disruptions that we've seen as a result of COVID when it comes to the workforce, and we've all experienced it, whether you're out and about trying to get some fast food or inside the restaurant or even at the grocery store. Everyone's shorthanded and trying to figure out, how do you recover? How do you get back to this? Well, we've got someone that will talk to you about how you can still thrive, even if it means stepping out on faith, but just excelling as you and just walking into your purpose. So joining us is Miss Keisha Allen. And I probably didn't give you due justice in doing the proper introduction. So looks like your mic is still muted. Hopefully I don't have you muted on this end. If you can, there you go. So good morning, Miss Allen, first of all, and thank you for taking the time to join us.
Good morning. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much.
Miss Tanya. It's so nice to meet you.
Oh, the pleasure's all mine. I'm grateful for the connection as well. And I had an opportunity to look through your book, Engaged, but you're so much more than that as I checked out your website. So kind of introduce yourself to everyone.
Okay, so I am actually Dr. Keisha Allen, and one of the things that I get the opportunity to do is really make a difference in the
Okay.
lives of people. And the way that I do that is through coaching, restorative practices. I do a lot of work in the education and justice systems, right? And
Mm-hmm.
specifically, the purpose of those coaching aspects is to build a climate and culture in these different places, especially for Black and Brown people of color, to really disrupt that school to prison pipeline. So I
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of work in that area. That's my main thing. But beyond that, I'm a minister, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I
Wow.
get the opportunity to be a coach for several different people. So I appreciate the work that I do.
Well, Dr. Allen, please forgive me. Didn't aware you had that title before your name. Certainly, you worked hard to
It
get
just
that. I want to acknowledge. What's
it
that?
just happened. It just
Oh,
happened.
well, congratulations. Congratulations to
Thank
you
you
for
so
that.
much.
Yay. So let's dive in as far as the school to prison pipeline. I love that as a passion of mine as well. And we'll talk more. I did send an email to Ben about something I'm working with, and hopefully you can join me for the
Mm,
panel. It's called Teaching in Color, and it's coming up in April. Yeah, some really cool people here in the state working really hard about equity and education. And I got a fellowship. So let's write down your lines. I tell you, God always connect you to the
yes,
right people. So I appreciate that. And today, though, we want to focus. You got a book out called Engaged, and we want to
yes.
empower and inspire and tell people, because people, this whole labor market thing is a mess right now. And so in reading in your book, I saw where you uplifted how, you can still do this. You can still walk in your purpose. You can still be successful. So kind of talk about that a little bit.
COVID wasn't all bad.
Right.
And let me say that with some tenderness behind it, because I want people to also know that I've lost several family members,
Mm, okay.
unfortunately, in COVID, and it has broken me and my family's heart. Uh,
Yeah.
but there's two sides to every coin. And on the other side of this coin, what I am appreciating right now and valuing about COVID, I'm sure many businesses are not, is
Right.
seeing what I believe called it the Great Resignation.
Right.
And I'm calling it the Great Awakening.
Mm,
People are waking up, they are getting off of the hamster wheel, if you will, Tanya, and
yeah.
people are beginning to recognize I have gifts, talents, and abilities that's not limited necessarily to a 9 to 5 and
Uh-huh.
within certain walls. They are discovering things about themselves that probably they knew was in there, but was probably too afraid to go after it. And now all of a sudden, you have this emergence of people who are being brave. And as you said earlier in your introduction, even maybe stepping out on faith to
Mhm.
see whether or not they can make a life and a living at their passion and at their purpose. And for me, I think that that's absolutely awesome.
Well, I know a lot of people, and I've shared the numbers before, did start a business, and here in North Carolina, the Secretary of State, the licenses doubled. It just seems like as an entrepreneur myself, I know it's tough. And
Yeah,
a lot of sessions where a lot of conversation about people have done it because they realize they sat at home for 2 years or over a year and said, "Hey, excuse me," like you said, that's not really what I need to be doing. And they don't have someone there to distract them and say, "Hey, keep it going. You got to have this, and we need you." No pressure. They just got able to think things out. But why else, or what individuals do you feel like, or you seen have actually taken that leap?
yeah. There are all kinds of individuals who are taking that leave. Interesting. My daughter is 6 years old, Tanya,
Hmm.
and her cousins are visiting this week from Florida.
Okay.
I decided to give them a slumber party, right?
Uh huh.
Young lady who came over, you rent these slumber party tents.
Right.
She told me the story about how she was working in corporate America. She left her job in corporate America
Hmm.
because she developed a passion for doing something she loved, which was event planning. She
Hmm.
has made, her and her husband has made a wonderful living these past 2 years
Hmm.
at doing this event planning. And so she began to give me the numbers in terms of what she and her husband were bringing in on a monthly basis. She said
Wow.
it caused her to leave her corporate America job, her corporate job, because she was happier.
Yeah.
She had more time to spend with her husband. She had more time to spend with her children. And
Yeah.
so you're talking about, who are these people who are, in this great awakening, if you will. And I think it's people who are just tired of being on that hamster wheel, that rat race, and they're willing and ready to try something different, right?
And yeah, and certainly the funding that was out there possibly allow people to kinda store up a little bit. That was an
Oh, it
incentive as well.
did.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
now what about people that are still on the bubble, that are considering it, but not so sure? So let's tie in how what you've written about Engaged, how that benefits them.
I am all about purpose. And just on a faith aspect, I
Mhm,
believe that we are all pre-wired. We have gifts, we have talents and abilities, right?
uh-huh,
There's a scripture that says, "Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it." And
that's
what
right.
my book really, really gets into is how do you tap into your purpose? What you were pre-wired to be and what you were pre-wired to do. And
Mm,
Tanya, you probably know this. There is something about the dreams of a little child where you see it so clearly, what you want to be, what you want to do, and
yeah,
all of a sudden life begins to happen. And before you know it, you find yourself in this autopilot mode. I talk about that in the book. You find yourself in this autopilot mode where all you do, you wake up, you brush your teeth, you wash up, you go to work is over, you eat dinner, you go to sleep, you start the day all over again. What
right.
happened to the dreams? What happened to the passion? What happened to the purpose? Right. And so God still requires that of you. He still wants you to be able to fulfill and to do those things. And so, right now, as far as the book is concerned, and connecting it to COVID and where we are, it really pushes people and challenges people to tap into who you are from the inside out. Take the risk, take the jump. My grandmother used to say, "Nothing beats a failure but a try."
That's right, that's right.
Nothing beats a failure but a try. But be willing to jump, Be willing to fulfill and go on that journey. I think it was Joyce Myers who said, do it afraid.
Yeah,
Even being scared, do it afraid. And I'm telling you, we are also in this time, and I'm happy about it, where we're becoming more aware about mental health.
absolutely. We talk about that every week. We are working to normalize, make that an everyday part of our conversation. Just normalize it. So you just hit the nail on the head with that one.
And what's interesting about the mental health piece, Tanya, is how many times, I mean, when you think about it in your past, have people in the work arena said, make sure you're taking care of yourself.
Hmm.
Make sure you're taking care of your mind. Make
You,
sure
you
that you're
didn't
healthy.
hear it often.
And, it
No,
wasn't. You
no,
just did what you were supposed to do,
yeah,
right? And also, this great awakening is about taking care of you, taking care of what makes you happy, taking care of what gives you joy. Years ago, and it's probably been over a decade, I can't remember what the news paper was, but it talked about people have heart attacks
yeah,
on Monday morning between 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. It was some research that they did. And as I continued to read the article, what it spoke about was because people are stressed,
yeah.
not wanting to go into work, the anxiety and the pressure, right? But if you can imagine a life of waking up and doing what it is you were born to do.
Hmm.
Mark Twain, the two most important days in your life, the day you were born and the day you find out why.
That's right.
And let me add another one, the day where you become courageous enough to do what it is that you were called to be and do.
So, Dr. Allen, this book, just speak so eloquently about with passion, a true believer of people just walking into their destiny and engaged. How did you come up with that title? Because when you say engaged, it can mean a lot of different things, including telling people, and I'm not just talking about the wedding. I'm just talking about engaged could be so many things. But I think about focus when you say that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've had so many single women who have emailed me so excited about getting the book. Like, yes, this is going to show me how to get engaged.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, it will.
Uh
But
huh.
I came up with the book because, oddly enough, it did come as a result of my wedding engagement. My husband proposed
Oh.
to me,
Uh
and
huh.
it was my father who came later on that day after my husband proposed to me, Tanya. And he asked me this question: do you even know what it means to be engaged?
Mm.
At the time, I gave him whatever answer I gave him. And
Right.
that was the definition of engagement that he gave me. He said, engagement means to be willing to enter war,
Ah,
promise that is offered on the other side.
yeah.
That you
That's
don't
some powerful stuff right there.
miss, right?
Yeah,
And I
you're talking about wisdom.
was excited,
Yeah.
But what I've realized is that definition of engagement, it's
Mhm.
not just about the proposal.
Right.
It's about life. How willing are you to engage in the war to get to what's promised to you on the other side? It's the
Ooh.
same thing that we're talking about in terms of the great awakening or the great resignation, however you want to coin it.
Uh-huh.
How willing are you to enter the war to get to the promise on the other side? And what happens, Tanya, is so many times people die in the process
Yeah.
because they're not equipped. Nobody has taught them, how do I navigate this space? How do
Mhm.
I make sure that I reach my goal? And so, what Engage really does is it gives you tools on how to stay equipped, on how to stay aware, on how to stay active, and making sure that even when you don't feel like it, even when it doesn't look good, even when it doesn't feel good, baby, you know how to operate to get to the other side.
Woohoo! That's some good stuff right there. I tell you, Dr. Allen. As we start to wrap things up, what else would you like to share? I certainly hope that people will take an opportunity and pick up your book. But I mean, you wear several hats. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity, Tanya. You look beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to have you.
But most importantly, I tell people all the time that when I come into your life, one of the things about me is that I'm very clear about who I am and what my purpose is. And I
Mhm.
tell people, if I come into your life, the purpose of it is to make an impact in some way or another. And so, even having the opportunity to be here with you on the show, for those of them who are listening, My purpose is to make an impact in some way, and hopefully it's through that book, or maybe it's through something that I've said. But really, my focus and my goal is people have a destiny to fulfill, and
Mm,
it's my job to be there to help. And this book, Engage, helps people along that journey to fulfill their destiny. So I'm hoping that fear is
yeah.
removed and people become courageous and brave enough to pursue what it is that God has really given for them to do.
And I love the fact that God is all in it as a believer, and strong faith. I
Mhm.
truly believe in order to walk into your destiny, you have to believe in a higher power. So we're
Mhm.
so grateful for you taking the time to talk with us. Now, I have your website here, but if anyone's interested in getting in touch with you, Dr. Allen, is this the way at KeishaAllen.com? Any
Yep.
other way?
Yep.
KeishaAllen.com?
Allen.com with one A. Yes.
Okay.
That is the way to get in touch. And that's also the way to order the book. So if people decide that they do want the book, you can order it from the website. And
Okay.
also let them know that that's where they get the autographs from.
Oh, I got my autographed copy and I so appreciate it. I had it here in the studio, started reading it and left it upstairs. But I just want to say thank you. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure to meet you and talk with you. And hopefully, I'll be talking to you again real soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you for taking the
Thank
time to talk
you.
with us.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
All right, you do the same.
Bye
Great,
bye.
great stuff, guys. Always bringing you information that you can use. Dr. Keisha Allen. Wow, powerful information. The book is called Engaged, an opportunity for you to pick it up. Just go to KeishaAllen.com. Again, that's KeishaAllen.com. There you go. I just appreciate the conversation and thank you again to Brent for the connection. It's always great to have really powerful and positive people in your life because that energy just really, really is some type of incredible thing. Connecting with positive individuals that believe in you and believe in themselves is so important, especially with all that we've been dealing with. And as we shift gears a little bit, we'll talk more about COVID and where we are today as far as the 2 year anniversary. We're coming up on a solid 2 years where we've been dealing with COVID. And the numbers right now, here in Mecklenburg County, we had 1,500 deaths over 2 years and 275,000 cases. Those are a lot of cases, folks, that we experienced and we survived. But we're still dealing with some stuff. We are not out of the woods yet. And I had an opportunity, of course, to bring in someone that we all love, and that's none other than Dr. Trasha Black. And I'm going to bring her on. That conversation was recorded because she had something else. And
So
it's
here we go.
canceling COVID. Of course, we join you every week, and I bring on one of the best in the business, and it's always a thrill. Just great to talk with her, none other than Dr. Trasha Davis Black of Groundwater Solutions. First of all, good morning, and thank you as always for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's just dive right into what's happening here. There are little whispers I'm hearing kind of in the background noise about another strain that's taking place in Europe right now. And I'm just kind of concerned that we're not talking about a whole lot of this. I haven't heard a whole lot about it. Let me just preface that. So, can you kind of talk about that with us?
It's actually combination strand. They're
Okay.
calling it Delta Cron, and it's a combination of the Delta variant and the Omicron variant. They're seeing a small surge in cases there. It's not very serious. I will say that it's very similar to the Omicron variant, where it comes on very fast. The symptoms are not quite as severe, and it's they're doing a good job treating it.
So, is there any reason why we should be concerned right now or even take precautions versus being let's be proactive versus being reactive?
Yeah, well, you know me, Tanya. I'm a proponent on taking precautions in general. So I still wear my mask when I'm out, and I still encourage other folks to do the same. I take the same kind of hygiene protocols that we took on in early COVID. I just think that's the way that we now have to live our lives. So we need to pay attention. The variant is. It's there. We've seen it. We know that once we see it in Europe, we will likely see it in United States. So I just think that we as a community across the country have to keep taking those same precautions for our safety.
So, Dr. Black, now let's just kind of pause for a minute. It's called Delta Cron.
Hmm.
Is that correct? Excuse me. But
Delta
she said
Cron. Hmm.
Delta Cron. And you're saying that these masks right now, keep them on. Now, this isn't going to be forever, is it?
Well, I don't know. I think until we know that COVID-19 is gone, as we talked about before, now that it is more of an endemic disease than a pandemic, we
Uh-huh.
just have to make that a way of life. Things that we do during flu season, we pump up our vitamin C's and
Yeah.
those things like that. I think over the course of the rest of the year, we're going to see um, new protocols or new ways that are going to become part of our common everyday lives. And so we need to be looking out for that to figure out what are the things that we need to permanently keep. I don't know whether masks are going to be one of them, but we know that masks do put up a protective barrier depending on the kind of mask that you wear. Remember, we need the N95 masks.
Uh-huh.
They're better than the cloth masks. Excuse me, the surgical masks, and the surgical masks are better than the cloth masks. So those are just things we need to keep in mind, especially if we're going to be in high congregate areas where you're going around a lot of people that you don't know. When you're with your family and you know that you guys are taking those necessary precautions when you're out in public, I think it's safe, you know, that you don't necessarily mask around people that you're around with on a daily basis. But if you're going into public settings, concerts, walking through restaurants, I still mask in those situations.
Absolutely. And I see people still wearing them as well. And sometimes I forget mine. I would say always keep a mask handy no matter
Mhm.
what. And you
I
mentioned,
keep some in my trunk,
yeah.
so just if I'm going somewhere and I think, oh, I probably want a mask in here, I always have one in my trunk that I can just grab or give somebody else.
And some places are still requiring it, which I like that. And I see churches are getting ready to start heading back inside as well. And so that's
Mhm.
also an opportunity to keep your mask on if you feel more comfortable. Let's talk
Right.
about what you always bring us up to date on and kind of like what you're seeing with the after effects, because COVID didn't just come in one and done. We know that, but it's also
Mhm.
lingering around. People are still having to deal with some of the after effects.
Right. We're saying we've talked a lot about COVID long haul, and the long haul are those symptoms or issues that we just can't get rid of,
Mm.
even though we had COVID 2 years ago. So, long haul, we're learning some neuroscientists are doing a lot of research around changes to the brain as a
Wow.
result of COVID. And what they're seeing is that your gray matter in your brain, and your gray matter is that space that seems like it's maybe empty space, but it's really not. In
Mhm.
that those gray areas of the brain, that's where our neurons live, and neurons are what transmit information, messages, to other areas of the brain. That's how information travels. Now, if you can imagine that you're on a highway, and you've got your route all planned up, and then you see construction that
Right.
blocks you from getting from point A to point B. Well, your neurons are your highways in your brain. And so with COVID, we're seeing some roadblocks out there. That gray
Mhm.
matter is reducing. And so the number of roadways is getting less in folks who are experiencing long haul, this particular long haul symptom. They're processing information little bit slower than they were before. Some drastically
Oh,
slower, and some minorly slower than they were before. We've heard about the brain fog that comes
yeah.
from COVID. When you have COVID, you're just not thinking clearly. I know when I personally had it, I could barely form a sentence. I couldn't. I
Wow.
talk and I just get jumbled, or I lose my thought completely, and I'd just be sitting there like, what in the world was I thinking about? So those kind of symptoms, folks are finding it harder to complete tasks, almost like a ADHD, attention deficit symptoms. And so we're looking, and I know personally, my circle, we're looking for ways to boost brain power and to try to rebuild those neurons. Some folks believe once you damage the brain, it's damaged the brain, it's never the same. But
Yeah.
we've also seen lots of research out there that you can rebuild those highways. You can boost those neurons, those systems. And so that's what we're in my circle we're working on now, is trying to help folks who are experiencing those long haul symptoms come back, jump back.
It's encouraging to know that our science is still at work, and you said the neuroscientists are studying this, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more. I had a picture that I would show, and I probably later on, looking at the damage even to your lungs, for
Hmm.
someone that had COVID. And so it's great that they're making sure that this research will benefit us, but also in years to come. There's so much
Mhm.
more to, I'm sure, to peel from this onion. But that's why we're here to give you the information. And thanks for enlightening us on that. I mean, I've heard kind of around the memory loss and the fog, but I didn't
Mhm.
realize to the extent of what you're sharing. And so hopefully there's
Which
also,
is why, yeah, we got to mitigate and reduce the number of new cases. So
right.
if we know that COVID causes long-lasting symptoms, whether it's a mild or severe case, we've got to limit our exposure to it, because every time COVID invades the body,
Hmm.
it, just like it's cutting off the pathways in the brain, it
Uh-huh.
does cut off pathways to your other organs. The
Yeah.
oxygen is not getting there. So the entire time you have COVID, we're having to constantly make sure that you have enough oxygen. That's why we wear those little monitors on your finger. You get that test.
Yeah.
Early on, everybody got it. Now we go to the doctors, you get that just to make sure, because an absence of oxygen breeds disease. So
Mm.
wherever you experience COVID-19, there's potential organ, some damages that might have occurred. And you got to, again, there are natural supplements, natural things that you can do that will help repair that damage.
Are you comfortable even listing or citing a couple of them? I know I've heard, I've had some different people on that mentioned
Mhm.
some of the natural products. Can you just drop a couple of them?
Right. So, there are basic things like magnesium and zinc and all of those things that need to be part of our regular diet. But
Mhm.
there are other things like soursop and burdock root and dandelion root, soursop leaves, things like that that really replenish. What I'll do is I'll send you a list of
Okay.
some of the natural things, the herbs, things that
What about
God
black
already
fish
made for
oil?
us.
I've heard a lot about black fish oil. Is it on the
Mhm.
list?
It is on the list. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
And
So I know you
moringa, I don't know if you've heard of
I've
moringa.
never heard of
Really
that.
good. Hmm.
Wow. Dr. Trasha Black, again, sharing wisdom and dropping some jewels about some natural products that will help boost the body. And I know a lot of times, especially people that aren't interested in medicine, this is a great alternative for them. So, yeah, I look forward to getting that list and I'll certainly share it. Now, I know you're
Okay.
on the go. I know you're busy. So, as we wrap things up, is there anything else you would like to share?
Well, definitely, I'm going to talk about it every week, because just like all the industries out there, we need people. We need folks who are passionate about helping other people. We will be having a hiring or career fair on Saturday, March the 26th.
Okay.
I hope to verify my dates. I think that's Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday.
That
We'll
sounds
be
about
at
right.
our office. We will be serving lunch, and
Oh,
I'll send you an information flyer about that as well. But we do need folks there are so many people out there who are hurting. We are opening this year a wellness wing. I think you and I might have talked about that. I
yeah.
don't know, but we'll be offering natural things like hyperbaric or oxygen therapy,
Mm,
IV hydration therapies, acupuncture, things like that. We already provide health care, the mental health, as well as primary care now, but we're looking for some wellness strategies, really in a lot of ways in response to COVID-19, because our bodies, our brains have taken such a hit, and
yeah.
we know that we can rebuild, and we want to create a place that's affordable, safe, and trustworthy for our community to come and start to get to work.
And trust is the key, and you're in good hands with Groundwater Solutions and Genesis Project with Dr. Trasha Black. So again, I've got the number up if people would like to get in touch, especially the job fair. Please get me that information so I can share that up
Absolutely.
on all.
Let me also say, Tanya, that Crustacean Seafood Restaurant is
Uh-huh.
partnering with us in that fair. They are also looking for folks who want to come out and be a part of this community, who are looking for employment. They're offering competitive wages and just an enjoyable work environment. So,
We've got to get back to work, folks. There are people out of work and there are people looking, but I'm trying to figure out where are they. I know a lot of people kind of stepped out on faith and tried the
mhm.
entrepreneurship thing. But if you know, like I know, you can be committed to that, but also have a backup plan, which is multiple streams of income, which is
Correct.
always a great plan for anyone. So, how do people get in touch with you? I've got the information up, but I'll let you give it out as well.
Okay. Our phone number is 704-596-0505. And you can hit us on our websites at www.groundwater-solutions.org or www.genesisproject1.org.
All right, great stuff. Dr. Trasha Black, Groundwater Solutions, also a sponsor of Canceling COVID. us from day one. So grateful for your expertise and definitely so grateful for your heart to serve the community. Thank you so much for taking the time to
Thank
join
you.
us.
Y'all have a great week.
And of course, Dr. Trasha Black, always here for me, always stepping in and helping out as it's time for us to wrap things up. Thank you for the conversation, folks. Thank you for joining in. Please share, let others know that we're here every Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Still discussing COVID. As you see, it's not going anywhere. Hats off to Elise Stewart says, thank you. She's one of the few that talks natural choices. That's Dr. Trasha Black. She is all about our community and what's best for our community as well. She doesn't knock science, but she does discuss options, and that's what she feels like people, and I agree, are looking for options, folks. Please take the time and share again so that we can continue functioning. Groundwater Solutions, one of our sponsors that allows us to be here. I want to say thank you again to Dr. Keisha Allen. If you would like to get more information about this life coach minister, all of the great things that she does, KeishaAllen.com, KeishaAllen.com. She's got an amazing book out right now, and it's called Engaged. And she kind of walked you through why it's so important to go ahead and step out on faith right now and walk into your purpose, which is most important for all of us during our time here in this life. As always, life's challenges make you better, not bitter. I'm Tanya Rivens. You can join me on Saturday. Please tune in at 10 a.m. Sounds of Inspiration. We're on Praise 100.9 FM, and we're working. And when I say we, I'm talking about me and my God to bring this message to a larger audience because it's good information that needs to be shared so that we are empowered by what we know. So thanks again for taking the time to tune in. It's Canceling COVID. Back here again on Tuesday, 11 a.m., and we'll continue this conversation. Thanks for joining us. We know together we will be able to cancel COVID. Have a great day, everyone, and thank you again for stopping by.